DeepSeek V4 Pro is not interesting because of one giant score. The real shift is that DeepSeek now wants to be the model behind your existing agent stack. V4 Pro speaks the Responses API used by Codex, exposes low, high, and max reasoning effort, and keeps the same API model name. That makes the launch less about another chatbot and more about a possible agent runtime swap. But a familiar API shape is not feature parity, and DeepSeek's charts are still vendor claims. So this review separates what shipped, what the official numbers say, where the compatibility stops, and the only test that should decide a production migration. The production build is DeepSeek V4 Pro 0813. It is available in the DeepSeek app and website through expert mode and through the API under DeepSeek V4 Pro. DeepSeek says model names remain unchanged. Compared with the preview, the product story now has 3 parts: major agent upgrades, flexible reasoning effort, and native responses API support aimed at Codex. The published model page lists a 1 million token context window, up to 384,000 output tokens, tool calls, JSON output, and OpenAI and Anthropic-shaped endpoints. This video is a source-grounded launch review. The official launch packet contains charts and docs, not moving product footage, so we are not calling this a hands-on demo. DeepSeek's own table shows large jumps from the Pro preview. DeepSW rises from 12.8 to 62.7. CyberGym moves from 52.7 to 83.3. Terminal Bench 2.1 goes from 72.1 to 87.9. Automation Bench increases from 12.8 to 31.8, while DS Bench Hard rises from 31.1 to 67.2. Those are meaningful deltas inside DeepSeek's test harness. They are not an independent ranking. The image says public code agent tasks use DeepSeek's harness and specific settings, and DS Bench is DeepSeek's benchmark. Same-day third-party tests show bounded coding experiments, but not broad production replication. Treat this table as a strong vendor claim and a reason to benchmark, not permission to declare universal superiority. Reasoning effort is the most practical new control. Low is meant for simple work, high for everyday agent workflows, and max for the hardest tasks. Thinking is enabled by default at high. In OpenAI format, medium, high, and X-high all map to high, while max stays max. The routing idea is simple. Stop paying maximum latency and tokens for every step. Use low for classification, extraction, and obvious edits. Use high for routine multi-tool work. Escalate to max only when the task is ambiguous, long horizon, or expensive to get wrong. But do not assume the label predicts completion quality. Measure retries, recovery after tool errors, total tokens, and wall clock time per completed task. The Codex integration is real, but narrower than the headline suggests. DeepSeek supports function tools, server-side web search, and the apply patch custom tool Codex needs. That is enough for a useful text-first coding loop. It does not support image or file inputs. File search, code interpreter, computer use, MCP tools, background responses, stored conversations, and previous response IDs are unsupported. The responses endpoint is stateless. Some unsupported fields are silently ignored, which is convenient for connecting an existing client and dangerous for assuming it behaved as requested. The one-click script backs up Codex configuration, writes a model catalog, and adds a provider, but a remote setup script should still be inspected before execution. The key conclusion is API shape compatibility, not OpenAI feature parity. Pricing needs a date stamp. Before August 16th at 1600 UTC, DeepSeek lists V4 Pro at $0.003625 per million cached input tokens, 43.5 cents for an uncached million, and 87 cents per million output tokens. On August 16th, peak and off-peak rates begin. Off-peak becomes 2.2 cents cached, 66 cents uncached, and $1.98 output. Peak doubles those rates to 4.4 cents, $1.32, and $3.96. Peak windows are 01 to 04 and 06 to 10 UTC. Pro's concurrency limit is 500 versus 2500 for Flash. Cheap tokens do not erase lower concurrency, retry cost, or latency. Who should test this? Teams running text and code-heavy agent loops where price, long context, tool calls, and a familiar Codex interface matter. Who should not migrate yet? Workflows that require vision, native computer use, MCP, stateful responses conversations, or proven reliability under consequential workloads. The giant context window is useful only if retrieval quality and cost remain controlled. The benchmark table is useful only if it predicts your repository and tools. Independent evidence for the exact 0813 build is still early. Preview results, other model variants, and polished one-off web demos cannot substitute for a controlled replay of your production workload. The verdict is promising, not proven. DeepSeek V4 Pro 0813 combines an aggressive agent benchmark story, flexible reasoning effort, a million-token context window, and enough responses compatibility to fit behind Codex with less adapter work. The limitations are equally concrete: stateless responses, text-only input, missing computer use and MCP, silently ignored fields, changing prices, and a vendor-led evidence base. Route-bounded shadow workload through low, high, and max compare completed task quality, latency, retries, tool recovery, and total tokens against the model you use today. Migrate only if the end-to-end result wins. TechWealth previously covered V4 Flash. This update is about what Pro GA changes and the practical decision. Subscribe for the measured side-by-side.